What we're working on today is 2012 GMC Acadia. And one of the problems is it's leaking water out of the radiator somewhere up here. It's just shooting steam out. And then also it's leaking from the fittings for the transmission cooling lines. So it's time for this to get replaced. As you can see, the radiator and the condenser are stuck together with these little clips. You just squeeze those together and it pops it out. And you can't get it out without taking the AC lines off, so if you need to discharge your AC, you'll have to have it evacuated somewhere. Now, this is the new setup here, and a couple of these little clips for this rubber plastic flap thing that fits on the side. Couple of these clips, one busted, I think one was missing anyway, so I just drill a hole in it and I put a cotter pin in it and that'll hold it just fine. But it's not that hard to put this stuff together, it just kind of all clicks together. The new one comes with this stud in it, and I'll probably take the stud out because my current setup has a bolt that holds that together, and that's kind of how this new one looks. And the new one looks like it was bent a little bit. You can see that it's got a bit of a curve in it. I don't think that's going to bother anything. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but that's how it looks. Now, to do this, you need to pull the front bumper off. Okay, so all these little clips that are under here and the clips that go in this fender liner. Now, this fender liner is intact still. I didn't take it off all the way. I took the one on the other side off all the way. It's your call. You're going to end up pushing this all the way down out of the way and reaching up all the way to here, because there's 3 bolts here that need to come out, and they are way up in there. So you'll have to disconnect your fog light. But that's kind of what all this looks like. I removed the fan. Now the fan wants to fall out in the middle of all this, so if you need to tie it back, you might need to tie this fan in place so it doesn't fall out on you. You don't want to damage that. Now, while you're in here, check all these lines and make sure. And I've put new Shrader valves on everything. So when I got the kit for this thing, expansion valve kit and everything, it came with a new little doodad here. Now, I originally thought that this thing was not serviceable, and I actually did go to the dealer and buy a new line. I was going to replace the whole thing, but I found out when I got the new one, I inspected it closely and discovered that this guy is a replaceable item. That's what it looks like. It didn't have any serrations on it at all from being tightened. I mean, it was perfect. And of course, when I took it out, I dinged it pretty good. Well, the new one had a serration on it. It had marks on it from it being tightened. So that meant to me that it was something I could take off. So I took it off and put a new one. Don't waste your time with all this and not put new Shrader valves. It's cheap. That stuff is cheap. Getting the Freon evacuated and recharged, that's expensive. So this is a deal for a buddy of mine, and we're trying to get this thing together and get it done. If someone was to say, hey, you know, what else do we need to do while we've got this thing out? And I'm telling you, there's lots of things you can do in here. The main thing that I would do is I would take the alternator off and have it rebuilt. This has got one of those clutch type alternator fronts on it. And I mean, the clutch thing, it costs $75, you know, and you got to pay somebody to put a new one on there. But still, it's easier to replace it before it breaks. And look at these transmission lines and stuff and make sure if any of these are leaking, boy, this is a good time to handle it. And if you don't want to ever mess with it, go ahead and replace them. They're cheap compared to what it takes to do this when it's all together. It's a huge difference. There is another line down here, and this one has a bit of moisture on it, and I cleaned it up real good. I'm not going to mess with it. It's something you can get to when it's all together, so I'm going to leave it alone. But this is the transmission control module plug here. That's the fill cap there, just for a bit of a reference point there. Had quite a bit of oil moisture on this side that I cleaned off. Had to clean all that up really good. Any oil on any rubber hose or anything, it's going to deteriorate things. So clean that stuff off the best you can. But this is what the other side looks like. I took that fender liner out. That's it there on the ground. That's what it looks like without the fender liner. Of course, this is the driver's side. This is where the fog light plug is, and it's got the same screws there. You got to pull them out. And I did find that there was a complaint about it making a funny noise. And across the front here, you'll see that there's 3 little doodads that were rubbing. And you can grab the license plate and shake it around. You shake that license plate around and go, make a funny noise. So let's go look and see what that is. All right, so this is what the bumper cover looks like just laying here in the grass, okay? That's the best thing you can do with it. Don't try to do anything perfect about this. Unless you've got sawhorses and carpet and foam and everything else, this is the easiest way, because it'll get blown over around here. But these are these little clips that are rubbing right here. There's 3 of them. I don't know what I'm going to do with those things. I'm going to grind them off or something. I'm going to get rid of them. There might even be a screw or something back here. I'm going to grind those down and get the tips off of them so we don't have anything touching and grinding. But guaranteed these 3 here are touching. Guaranteed. This got an aftermarket bumper on it. Aftermarket, repaired front end. So maybe some of that stuff is just a little different and closer off enough for it to rub. So I'm going to get rid of that and fix it. So I hope this helps somebody. This is just a quick note, and I'm just talking about a few things. This is not a step-by-step deal. With the tire installed on the vehicle, this bolt that comes out of this lowest one is the hardest one to get to. You don't really have enough space. Both of these on both sides on this vehicle were cross-threaded because somebody was too lazy to do it right. So I'll just let you know in advance, if this bolt doesn't come out, it might rip out. I don't know. These both were broken. You have to turn the wheel and get some clearance, and I'll show you that in a moment. So that bolt, it sets right here. I mean, it's really close. You don't have enough room with the tool here to do it. So if you get this, put the key in the steering wheel and turn these wheels, you turn them all the way one way, that'll give you some clearance, and I presume it will get clearance on one side. You'll have to turn the wheel back the other way to clearance on the other side. Yeah, I know it's more work, but you gotta do what you gotta do to not ding up your own ride, right? So that's kind of what things look like. This is a windshield wiper reservoir. There's your horn. If you're gonna pull your headlights off, this is a good view of all this headlight stuff. You got to take all these bolts out to get to it. So, but that's how it looks. I almost thought that the radiator would go out through the bottom, but there's no way. It's not going to go out through the bottom, and there's no way that it's going to come out this way either without taking this off. So this is what you're stuck with. Hope you'll have a good day.